All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a really fascinating story about SpaceX. It's all about space exploration, big business, and the U.S. tax code. It's a financial situation that honestly is probably going to surprise you. So, yeah, let's just get right into it.
So here it is, the big question right at the top. How on earth does a company get billions of dollars from the U.S. government and end up paying $0 in federal income tax? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But based on reporting from the New York Times, it seems that's exactly what's been happening for years. So, how is that possible? Well, let's break it down.
So what we're looking at here is a huge paradox. I mean, on one hand, you've got this absolute titan of an industry. And on the other hand, a tax bill that's basically zero. We're going to really unpack that tension.
And this is where it gets really stark. I mean, just look at these two realities side by side. SpaceX is valued at over $350 billion. It completely dominates the space industry, and it's absolutely vital for national security missions with NASA and the Pentagon. And yet, its federal income tax bill is almost certainly zero. It's wild to see it laid out like that.
And don't for a second think this is a company that isn't making money. Just look at this number. We're talking about $5 billion in earnings from its core operations in its last reported year. That's nearly double what it was the year before. The company is obviously thriving, which just makes that question even more important. Why no federal tax? So the answer here isn't some secret, shady loophole or tax evasion. Not at all. It's actually a completely legal, well-known part of the U.S. tax code. Let's take a look at the engine behind all this. The tax-free rocket fuel, if you will.
Okay, so it all boils down to this thing called a net operating loss carry-forward, or NOL. Now, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a giant tax coupon. For years, while SpaceX was pouring billions into building rockets and all that infrastructure, it was losing money, at least on paper. The tax code says, hey, you can save up all those losses and use them later to cancel out your profits. It basically erases the income you'd normally pay taxes on.
And you can see right here how those losses just piled up over time. I mean, getting to Mars is not cheap, right? It started with just $4 million in losses its first year, but as the company's ambitions got bigger, so did the losses, all the way up to nearly $1 billion in losses in 2021 alone. And remember, every single dollar lost was another dollar added to that tax coupon.
So you add all that up and where do you land? On this absolutely staggering number. By the end of 2021, SpaceX had racked up $5.4 billion in tax losses. That's a $5.4 billion coupon just sitting there, ready to wipe out future profits before the government sees a single dollar in federal income tax.
Now that tax coupon was always a big deal. But then, a law changed back in 2017, and it made this thing way more powerful. It basically gave it an infinite shelf life. It's a pretty simple change, but the effect is profound. See, before 2017, companies usually had about 20 years to use up these loss coupons before they just, poof, expired, gone. But the big tax law that year got rid of that expiration date for any new losses. Suddenly, they could be carried forward forever. So what did this mean for SpaceX? Well, it was a game changer. The documents show that this rule change means nearly $3 billion of their total losses have no expiration date. None. They can use them to offset profits this year, next year, or, 50 years from now. It turned a temporary benefit into a permanent financial asset.
Okay, so why is this more than just a cool accounting story? Well, it's because of who SpaceX's #1 customer is. This whole financial picture gets a lot more interesting when you realize just how deeply tied the company is to the U.S. government.
Just look at this chart. Back in 2020, a full 84% of SpaceX's revenue came from federal contracts. That's money from NASA, the Pentagon, other agencies. It's taxpayer money. Think about that for a second. The money pouring in is overwhelmingly from the very same government that it's paying no federal income tax to.
And just to give you some context, let's look at another big tech company, Microsoft. They use tax benefits too, of course, but they still paid about $14.1 billion in federal income taxes last year. This comparison really just shows you how unique this situation is for a company of SpaceX's scale and importance.
And,
This whole situation hasn't gone unnoticed. It's drawn some criticism. Danielle Bryan from the Project on Government Oversight said that this tax rule was really meant to help struggling companies get through tough times. She called SpaceX's use of it quaint, basically saying the original spirit of the law doesn't really match how it's being used by a super successful company today.
So, all of this brings us to one final, really provocative question that this situation raises.
Now, it is absolutely vital to understand this. None of this is illegal. It's not a hidden loophole. It is a fundamental feature of our corporate tax system. Because of different accounting rules, a company can legally tell its shareholders, hey, we're profitable, while at the same time telling the IRS, hey, we have these losses from past investments. This is literally how the system is designed to work.
And so this whole thing really leaves us with a big question to chew on. There's no doubt that SpaceX is a national asset. It's accomplishing missions that are critical for the country, and the public, through all those government contracts, is basically its main investor. So when a private company gets so intertwined with national purpose, what does it owe back? This isn't just about taxes anymore. It's a bigger question about the relationship between private innovation and the public good. Definitely something to think about.